literally have been back in the house. Let me give, and we are officially live on everything. So I literally have been back in the house and in contact with the business computer for all of 30 minutes, give or take. Okay, 30 minutes. This morning, on the way to start off our team for the day. Okay, backstory. Last night I attended an event. If you check out our stories on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you would have seen content from that event. However, that triggered some me wanting to reach out to who we were supposed to be utilizing as an event planner for some real strategic things happening during the Black Friday weekend by Black Market. However, so I sent them an email like, hey, I checked out, I was at this place. We definitely need to go past there together and do some planning. Okay, well, in the beginning of this morning's routine, I got an email back from them like, oh, I'm sorry to inform you, I've already booked myself for something else because I hadn't heard back from you for a while. So I figured you changed your mind about the thing. Now, everybody else we're dealing with on this event, and this is not to say anything negative about that business. Everybody else we're dealing with on this event, we plan stuff out months in advance. We kind of go over the logistics. We come to a agreement on numbers, and then we kind of don't talk again until the deposit is required or until a very specific thing has to be done. However, in this situation, apparently they do things a little bit differently, and it wasn't communicated. I wasn't as clear about that, so it fell through. Now, y'all, the event planner was going to be behind the VIP lounge. They were going to be behind some other strategic things we were implementing to drive more engagement and retention of attendees' presence, things of this nature, right? So I came back. If you are the type of person, a part of our community that stays in our stories, views our stories, I manifest first thing before I start my business day. I share a really small clip of one of the songs from my manifest playlist that I'm normally listening to as I'm wrapping up manifesting for the day, as well as what I write as a part of my manifestation. So as I was manifesting the day, baby, it was like every time I started to write my affirmation, the alarms just started going off. So alongside the book I write my affirmations and manifestation in, I have a book just full of notes. So I was literally stopping from what I was doing to write notes down, jot down notes. And let me tell you what was happening. The vision for the Black Market was transforming before my eyes. In my mind. It was transforming me in my mind, right? I was seeing things that I didn't even realize truly captured the culture, truly allowed for us to exist in this moment in uniformity and exist in all of our intricacies and the culture that makes up the entire Black community more organically and authentically, and just giving light to it in a positive and enjoyable and engaging way, right? So as I'm now it really feels like I should be very concerned because I ain't even got an event planner to figure this out. And everything's getting more elaborate and more different and more intricate, right? And then every time I write down a little bit more, something else. I mean, it's going off like fire alarm bells. If you was raised in a generation where y'all had to do fire drills and they would ring the alarms just for you to go out. Well, I was a part of that generation. So anywho, that's how it's going off, y'all. Just when I think I can get back to work, that fire alarm bell go off again, right? And I'm writing and I'm just writing these random ideas. And then something happens but I tell myself I can't stop in this moment. I can't stop manifesting. I can't stop writing this affirmation, because if I get distracted, I'm not going to come to completion on what the actual picture is, what the vision is. And so as I get close to being done, I get names, I get tasks, I get assignments, right? And so everybody whose name I got, everybody whose assignment I got, everybody whose task I got, it magnified what it was going to require of them, magnified them allowing for their light to shine. it magnified their skills being taken to the next level. It magnified them being able to show themselves in a light that most people may never even had been aware that they were coexisting in connection with somebody who possessed that, right? And it triggered them to allow for themselves to go deeper into what they think, with their chi zone is, right? So I literally wrap this up and I'm on the phone. I'm like, hey, are you free today? And that person's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, I need to get this person available too, because we need to do this meeting like this. So I get off the phone with them. I get on the phone with another person. Hey, are you free today? When are you available? They're like, now. I'm like, cool. I'm going to get this person. We're going to coordinate it and we coming straight to you. So, baby, when I tell you this was amazing. So I had exactly 30 minutes to shower, figure out everything I needed to do, get some packages ready to ship off. Shout out to everybody that bought any of our shirts. And if you bought any of those shirts over the weekend, they shipped out this morning. We thank you. We appreciate your support. And we truly, truly value you being a part of the Lighthouse community that draws people to the awareness about our messages. Thank you. That was just I just wanted to make sure to say that before I got too deep in this. So anyway, I'm dressed. We done dropped off these packages. We are headed to Knightdale. Now, if you know anything about our stop shop and where we're actually located, we're out of Durham. We're not out of Knightdale. We're not even out of Raleigh. So Knightdale is about 50 minutes away. So we're headed to Knightdale by way of Chapel Hill. And so we are on the road. You hear me? And everything has been strategically done. Today is not going according to plan in any way. However, once I arrive to where we're going to do this impromptu meeting with these awesome entrepreneurs, right? When I tell you things work according to what you give yourself permission to execute on, this is that moment. This is that moment that magnified that in a way that I cannot even explain. Do you understand? I literally just shared the notes I had jotted down, y'all. They weren't even full sentences. I shared the notes I had jotted down. And when I tell you, it was like tossing it to Velcro. Have y'all ever seen the thing, those suits you can put on where you can do a Velcro jump and jump up against that wall and stick to it? And that's like an activity that people pays for. If you've ever seen that Velcro thing, put a 3 in the chat for me. That Velcro thing where it's a suit. You put the whole suit on, and literally the whole activity is you putting on this Velcro suit to jump up against the wall to stick to it. Right? This conversation was like that. Everything I said, not only did it stick, you hear me, it magnified, it expanded like a high quality balloon or souffle or something that don't bust. You hear me? And so it was a situation where everything I say, I literally heard it, I seen it received, and then I seen it built around. So it wasn't just like a measly little bit. When I tell you this, everything about this conversation took every idea from like a cute little twig or something you was just gonna float in the water with to being a full-fledged yacht. And it was like the energy was flowing so mind-blowingly that I was just like, I don't know what to do with this, y'all. This morning, there was a level of uncertainty that I couldn't even filter through. And by I want to say like 11:45, I was blown away about what the future now looked like. And there was not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that everything had happened according to plan. And I'm gonna tell you what got crazier about it, right, y'all? So I love meeting with these people, even impromptu like this, because the conversation never goes according to plan. This was supposed to be a 40-minute in and out meeting. It did not go that way. We went over time a little bit, but here's why that was even amazing. Because my fear was like, oh, do I want to do this do I want to do this meeting now? Can we afford to do this meeting now? Is it going to work out well, given the distance of it? Is it going to work out well, given the fact that now we have to have a very strategic plan to get back to make sure everything else that needs to happen today goes according to plan. am I going to be sure that they're even receptive of what the hell I've impromptu said, let's have a meeting about? They don't know what I'm coming to them with. It's so out of the blue that there's almost a fear, like, what's wrong? What's the problem? What's going on? Right. Meanwhile, I'm like, it's not bad. And technically it was bad. Right. I'm coming to tell you, say, hey, this fell through. I have no solution to this. Let's figure one out, right? I have these ideas. Can you work with these ideas? However, it turned into a thing where it was like, not only was it not bad, not only was it the solution to a problem, but it literally gave life to a whole nother reality being able to coexist. It created a bigger picture that I didn't even realize was so fundamentally needed to happen in that moment. And so here's what made that meeting better, right? It went completely overtime, y'all. Completely overtime. Did not go. We were supposed to be out of there, and I was supposed to be back in that pickup line at 1:00. Okay, so that's not how we were leaving there about 1:15. Right? So one of the people I was meeting with was Miss Mastic, Crystals and Gems. That is the business owner's name. Miss Mastic's Crystals and Gems. And the awesome thing about it was I had a ride with me. And so we were forced to ride and go to pickup line before I could take her back to her car. Right. And something happened in that conversation that is triggering this live. Okay. Y'all still here with me? If you're still here with me, I need to make sure y'all still here with me, because this is that moment. This is that moment that we're about to get into the reason for this exact title for this. So if you are still here with me, just put a 7 in the chat real quick. Put a 7 in the chat or put a heart in the chat. Either or works just fine. Put a 7 in the chat or put a heart in the chat. If you are still here with me, if you can still hear me, if you are fully, oh, Miss Massick is here. Oh, that is so funny. Yeah. If you are still here, just put that in the chat. I need to make sure y'all are here and present, because let me tell you what happens. We end up going to pickup line, and during that ride to pickup line, we have conversations that I forget to have out loud frequently. I told her how I ended up here, how I ended up being able to unapologetically state my stance about the Black community, how I ended up in a space where I was able to pursue my passion despite all the odds, where finances, no matter how many financial burdens came with executing this to the degree I did, it was now relevant. I told her about my first 6 years in North Carolina, where I came here married as a young college student and pregnant. And within a year of that, I ended up separated, on the verge of divorce. I ended up homeless. I ended up living out of a Lincoln Town car that I then eventually sold for scraps, right? I ended up working a job through an arm injury. I ended up working a job through having to beg people to just watch I had complete strangers agreeing to, and it's so scary to think back to now. You get what I'm saying? I was at a point where I had worked the only traditional job I worked, making $8.50 an hour, and I was going to Facebook to complete strangers, just posting and hoping somebody would watch my daughter so I could go to this job that was paying me anywhere from 2 weeks to a month late, y'all. And then something happened while I was at that job, and I just quit. I couldn't do it. I couldn't afford to. I was living off of $400 while homeless with a baby, and depending on the mercy of complete strangers, and more so depending on the mercy, having to trust complete strangers with the safety and well-being of my infant child, while also being a rape survivor at 6 years old myself. I knew how risky what I was doing was. And somehow my daughter was kept through all of that. She was kept and she was protected, and everybody that even came remotely close to us did nothing but love and watch and want the best for. I mean, hell, it's people that reach out to me now that don't reach out to me for me. They reach out to me to check on her years later. Psalm turns 10 this year. So we talk about stuff that happened 8, 9 years ago, and they still reach out like it happened yesterday. You hear me? They still just want to make sure she's good in every way possible. And I knew nobody here. And here's the crazy part. So I quit that job. Yeah, I worked through that elbow injury. If y'all don't believe me, check my personal Facebook. Because back then, baby, the artist in me wanted to share it all with the world, wanted to expose everything. So I used to post a lot back then. And so the crazy thing is, I quit that job because I'm like, I'm surviving off of $400 and I can't become unhomeless like this. Something has got to give. So I quit the job with the intention of joining the military. But the thing that happened to me before I even got that job is I went through a horrible custody battle with my ex-husband. I went through a horrible custody battle. So the one thing I was unwilling to ever do was sacrifice taking on and maintaining the responsibility and the custodial rights to my child after this uphill battle, right? So I quit this job. I filed for unemployment. My employer at the time, right, in contest to my unemployment claim, only thing they did was they sent in some timesheets. Now, here's the crazy thing about these timesheets. These timesheets, they show, sometimes I might be 2 minutes late, 5 minutes late, 7 minutes late, nothing serious. But they also showed that I was working. My shift was technically only 8 hours, but I was working like 12 hours. It got to the point where my boss was like, you have to leave when everybody else leaves. Somebody has to be there with you. So you have to get off when everybody else is ready to clock out. You can't stay on the clock on your own just for safety reasons, because the environment, and it could have easily been a death trap outside the doors in the middle of the night. So anyway, so they sent in these timesheets. So I disputed it and I filed an appeal. If you file an appeal, it goes to a labor lawyer who oversees the appeal process between your employer and you. Now, here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing about that. So when it went to appeal, my employer was supposed to be there saying why I wasn't supposed to get my unemployment. You understand? That was literally the job of the appeal. It's show up, say why she not supposed to get this money so we can make sure we close this case for good. I'm in that appeal and it's going on for about 20 minutes. I don't even speak. Before I even get around to speaking, my employer is talking about how hardworking I was, how diligent I was, how persevering I was, how dedicated, and how commitment I was to just doing whatever needed to be done. Right? This is like literally the boss and the supervisor are both on the call, just talking about all these great qualities I have, all these things I did. Hell, they almost sounded heartbroken that I quit, but I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place. And so as a result of that, right, my appeal gets overturned. I get it. They give me a lump sum of unemployment. It's not a lot of money. Please don't be deceived. It was like $3,000, give or take. And it was like $100 a week for like another 10 weeks. I started a company with that money. I'm homeless, y'all. I still only got a damn banged up Lincoln Town car to my name with $2,000 of repairs needed. And I started a company hiring people to work from home with customer service. I still own that company to this day, might I ask. Still do it. And the irony of it is I'm hiring people to work from home. I am hiring people old enough to be my parents, my grandparents, in the middle of career changes, in the middle of wanting to restructure how they generate revenue, in the middle of just wanting to have the flexibility to get up and uproot themselves and maintain some type of financial stability. And so it's crazy because I'm hiring people for this job for almost 5 months. for almost 5 months while being homeless. So it's like I'm hiring you to a job I couldn't even work myself. The irony of it is mind blowing when I think back on it now. I'm like, that's insane, right? And so then it gets to a point where I learn about that. As I'm doing that, I get connected with small opportunities like, hey, this would be great. And so I get looped back into the event space, the event and experimental marketing arena, right? And I'm going in there with the intentions to market like, hey, y'all can work from home for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm even partially, I'm still going in there with the same mindset, like, let me get the will in motion for myself. You hear me? And then after one opportunity and after another opportunity, it opens my eyes that there are tiers to this. And somehow I keep getting, and I'm being yanked back through the door, and I don't realize I'm being yanked back to the door, through the door. But then I started to ask questions. I started to pay attention to the system, and I started to realize this was my entry point, and I didn't even realize I had it years ago. Here's the part about that story that I never tell to people. The one of my first corporate clients was a client I worked with right before I got evicted, but I thought it was a one and done opportunity, and I had no idea what exactly God was exposing me to in that moment. I thought it was just the luck of the draw. I stumbled upon it, right? Meanwhile, it was a whole industry that he was trying to catapult me into, and I didn't even realize it. It allowed for my resume to speak for itself without having to prove the validity. And now I was at a place where I was receptive of what was happening. You hear me? I was at a place where I was receptive of what was happening. I was at a place where I wanted to hear and see and understand. I wasn't just hoping somebody would give me an opportunity. I was ready to learn and take heed to every single thing placed in front of me. And the crazy part is, so it transformed everything because I started to ask the right questions. I started to pay attention to what was transpiring outside of the immediate, and it opened up a whole arena for me. And once I learned about it, and once I really understood what I was dealing with, it was like I was able to bust open the door for as many people as possible. I was able to share it. I was able to bridge that gap. I was able to make people understand, like, this does not require you to look or be or have or prove anything up front. The opportunity is how you prove yourself. Your actions will validate your sustainability, your worthiness, your capabilities, your options for yourself. And so then that catapulted me into all of these other things. It catapulted me into the real estate. It catapulted me into the credit education. It catapulted me into the financial literacy at a deeper level. It catapulted me into a place where I now understood how to be an asset in every environment, but also that anybody could become an asset in any environment. And that you could literally make something out of nothing. You can make something out of nothing. And the funny part is, me and Miss Masick was having this conversation early, and the thing that hit me in that moment was when I had nothing, the most I could lose was my life. And if I wasn't already living a life worth living, was it worth having anyway? And so then it got to a point where things were working out enough, y'all. Trust and believe, they are not perfect. We are at a standstill right now. The real estate market is overpriced, and I'm not willing to pay more than my house is worth to get into it. So we are at a standstill with buying a home that we were supposed to buy literally easily, 13 months ago now, Thomas? Like, we downsized in a preparation to go bigger, but we've been forced into an ongoing downsize because of the economic state of the economy and some manipulation that's outside of this scope of discussion tonight. However, in this moment, I realized I refuse to stay still. So in April, technically something we planned 3 years ago, but was supposed to be executed on a year from now, I said, if we can't do that plan according to the step-by-step process, let's get to execute on another plan. Don't stay stagnant. Let's execute. And so then the Buy Black market came to fruition, right? And the crazy thing about it was everything about the Buy Black market, everything that happened when we were just trying to make it possible. I mean, every phone call we made, every application we submitted, every person we discussed it with, everything was a no. Everything, y'all. We submitted applications where Thomas would send an email follow-up or a phone call every day just to get a price for a venue. We had ads running that were being flagged left and right as racist, as problematic, as anything under the sun, as violating the terms and conditions of ad policies. You get what I'm saying? We finally got, right? We got through the first roadblock, which was just getting a price. Just getting a price and getting a location and getting a price. Right? Pinpointing the location and actually being able to get a price for it. So they gave us that. And then the next roadblock was, well, can we get a date though? Because a location and a price is cool. But without a date, it's still just a theory kind of out there. It's blowing in the wind. You hear me? And so we finally got a date. However, we only got one date. We got one. This is your make it or break it moment date. And that was Easter weekend. And we were only looking for one date, not a weekend, y'all. We were looking for one date, half the size, but that's what we got. That was the only thing we were given. That was the only option we were given. So what did we do? We took it and run with it. Because what I'm not going to do is allow for my uncertainty. I'm not going to allow for well, this doesn't seem like it's supposed to be like this. Allow for me to now just stay here, be stuck, right? And so, Thomas, let's talk about it out loud. When we got that date and we started going through our checklist, I'm a list person, y'all. I got lists all through this house. I got lists on all the important walls that we do business in, right? And so when we started going through that checklist, Thomas, what was the first thing you asked me? You said, did we bite off? Like,
did we bite off more than we did?
Did we bite off more than we could chew with accepting this date, despite it being the only one? I said, and what did I say to you, Thomas?
I don't need that right now.
I said, I don't need that right now. We can talk about any roadblocks once the mission is accomplished, which makes it hard, right? Because sometimes you need somebody to just commiserate with. I was like, I ain't her. Not today, baby. You're going to need to go have that conversation with a cousin, a brother, a mama, somebody who can exist in that with you. Because in this moment, if I allow for myself to magnify that insecurity about what's self-evident is a roadblock, I will not make it around the roadblock. If I start to question the effectiveness or the possibility of this, I'm going to see the problem as being bigger than my capabilities to overcome it. And the crazy part about it is, no matter how y'all feel about April, hell, no matter how we feel about April, because we got some strong feelings about April ourselves, despite it all, the ones that y'all know about and the ones that y'all don't know about, somehow, after putting all that money up, after agreeing to terms that we knew were as shady as some of these music artists' contracts and record deals, thousands of Black people showed up. thousands of Black businesses showed up. Thousands of households realized that they were not, and you were not forced to normalize one version of something happening as the only option or alternative for you to exist in. Right? People were committed to change. They believed in the capacity for change to exist, even without a tangible, right? Because before the April event, there was nothing to base it off. There was nothing to prove that it could happen. There was nothing accessible or normalized as existing in that state. And I'm going to tell you that is sometimes all you need when you have a lot of amplifications of doubt. Sometimes when you have a lot of amplifications of insecurity, when you have a lot of people seeing the glass half empty versus half full, sometimes the most empowering thing you can do, even if money is not adding up the way it's supposed to, even if opportunities or responses or calls or answers are not happening the way they're supposed to, even if people can't reassure you or guarantee you or promise you what you need to feel secure. Sometimes all you need is to exist around people who can amplify that possibility into your life, into your situation, into your environment. And that's what happened this morning for me, y'all. That meeting between Miss Mastic and Dream City Sense, it was a conversation where everything that could go right was just amplified, and amplified in so many different ways. So many different ways. And I'm gonna tell you what makes today crazier, right? Because I left my laptop. This laptop that y'all can see it. You can't see it because I'm on it with you on YouTube. But this laptop right here, y'all, I forgot this laptop at that meeting. And there were phone calls that transpired despite it. There were opportunities that literally was on the other end of the phone call, just like, hey, you want it? Like, we ready to give it to you if you want it. Just waiting, when I was just receptive and open to doing things despite not having it all figured out, despite the certainty, despite the guarantees, despite even having all the little nuances worked out. You hear me? Despite time. Like, do the math. We talking about drastic changes happening. Today's the 28th. The event is in 18 days. That's 2.5 weeks from now. Today's the 8th. Today's okay, thank you. Today is the 8th. You're talking about 18 days from now. Everything, and not even 18 days from now, because if we want to be very, very specific, you feel me? It's 16 days from now, because 18 days from now is the first day of the event. Setup happens 2 days before the event. So 16 days from now. And we're talking about people having to take on whole new jobs and all the responsibilities and working out all the logistics and making those numbers add up and making those things and making those plans look like something, making those prints come together, not being able to, reword it and tweak it and figure it out, do a couple of rough drafts over time, not having time at their disposal, having a budget that does not align with what the budget should be budgeting. You're talking about people not even having the additional resources that would have come if any one little factor was just a little bit different. And I just want to take a moment to just speak life to everybody that is going through that, well, what do I do now? I'm not completely sure. I don't think I'm ready. I think I just need a little bit more time. The one thing that between April and now has done for me personally, not even the Battle Lock Market stuff, the one thing between April and now has done for me, I was forced out of routines. We were blocked from stuff. There were people that shut us out. There were people that developed whatever feelings, thoughts, whatever from us, and determined um, that they were in opposition of us or whatever. And it made us get out of routines. It made us to just show up even when we couldn't explain it. And let me tell you something, every single place I've shown up, every single thing I've done, despite not even being able to tell you how, why, or not even having a motive behind it, just going, just allowing for me to be led by something bigger than me, even when I couldn't explain it. It has opened up a door. It has built a bridge. It has created or given me knowledge or resources or opportunities or connections that I can't make sense. Seriously. And I mean on every level. I mean on financial levels. I mean on emotional levels. I mean on spiritual levels. I mean on business levels, political. It has done some things that if you needed like the if you needed the recipe, or if you needed the strategy or like the exact calculated equation, baby, it ain't one. And the thing that's most mind blowing is I am receiving things I didn't even know I needed until it happened. Right? And that is what I need for all of us to intentionally do. Because there are going to be the things that you can explain, but then there are going to be the things that are bigger than you that you have to allow yourself to be a funnel to exist. There are going to be things where you have to realize it ain't even coming to you for you. It's coming to you to go through you to be relayed to this person that's on the other side of town that requires that trip that you're about to make, that is a part of your routine, but you don't even know why you still go there. It's going to be for that. It's going to be because you're going to receive it and you're going to be able to say it in a way that makes them receptive of it. You hear me? It's going to be that one thing that you didn't even realize somebody was looking for, but they didn't even know where to start asking questions. And that's going to have its own ripple effect on you, where it comes back full circle years later, months later. You can't, you hear me? It is something happening, and I hope that this clicks and hits that part of you that needs to realize, like, this is that moment where you cannot be held hostage to your doubt, where you cannot be held hostage to your uncertainty, where you cannot be held hostage to not knowing what you don't know, or you cannot be held hostage to a guarantee that nothing can give you, even yourself. You hear me? This is that moment where I just hope you hearing about this and you just, all of it, y'all, and you're like, damn, I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize that was that one thing that it was going over my head this whole time, and I didn't even realize all I had to do was just reach up. You hear me? Kept flying over you. You thought it was out of reach, baby. You just had to lift that arm one good time, and it was literally right there. But you didn't, because you were like, oh, it needs to feel this way, or it has to be this way, or I'm used to it only happening like this, or I'm used to it only working out if it's packaged or worded or presented or offered in this way. It was so crazy. Me and Miss Mastic, the part of that conversation that I didn't mention out loud, but I'm gonna say it out loud because I think Miss Mastic would be cool with it. We were having a conversation. I was saying to her, I said, this is something that's been on my heart that you're supposed to be doing. And I think for her, she didn't even see how it was going to be executed. And I said, I need you to do this. She said, that's so funny. I've been thinking about that. But I didn't even, she was like, I got the perfect thing for it. And for me, I was just like, this is something that has been like lingering in the back of my mind for her for months, but I couldn't even say how to execute on it my damn self. And then out of the blue, all of these things fell apart. You hear me? For this one thing to come together. And the crazier part about this one thing coming together was Miss Mastic is finalized for the event weekend. Okay. But she's only finalized for one day. And I was just like, man, she don't understand. People gonna see her one day and they're gonna come back looking and looking and looking for it. And she was like, well, I didn't do it for this. I didn't do it for the money reason or for whatever. I was like, oh, you're gonna be there the whole weekend now. And it was just like, sometimes you just have to take the first step. You cannot be held hostage by the bigger picture that you think you can control, because here's the other side that can happen. You can have all your ducks in a row and some real far left shit comes. Like car accident, car breakdown, got to replace it. A medical bill, right? Prime example. I literally got a medical bill in the mail today. I can't tell you what it's from, what it's for, or why it's even here, because I know for a fact we caught up on ours. But there's always something. There's always the unknown factor, and the unknown factor is determined by what you will or won't give yourself permission to exist in without wavering. For us, it's this. It's my need to have community that has the ability to grow and sustain the growth. Right? I need sustainability more than anything in life. Right? And so I don't need somebody who hovers. I don't need codependency. I need sustainability. And so sustainability means to be able to exist in an environment that has the ability to be there with or without my part having a heavy impact on it. Right? And so for me, it's like me going back, me dialing back too much on this means me pulling away from the opportunities for the like minds to coexist, me pulling away from the opportunities for this to be people's point of entry to go to the next level, me pulling away from being able to give more people access to the information and the resources and the guidance and the connections that I may not actually be directly involved in no way. I might literally just present the space for the opportunity to exist. Right? There was a conversation me and Miss Mastic had tonight, and I'm not going to go into details on that one at all, but it was an opportunity presented to us. And I was like, how do I allow for this to exist with the intentions of it and add this factor in without having to create a barrier of entry for folks by monetizing it? Right? And those little things you start to, I'm telling y'all, it's so crazy. Today was the day, y'all. Today was a day, baby. Today was the day. And I know it was supposed to be about money and blah, blah, blah. Today's Money Monday is not going to be about money. Today's Money Monday was about just, blessing y'all with a lot of spiritual currency, a lot of mental currency, a lot of emotional currency that I'm pretty sure it wasn't just me who may have been, you get what I'm saying, where that might have been get into a depleted state where it wasn't even functional. So exhale. Feel free to exhale now, because I need it. Nothing about today went according to plan, but everything went according to needs being met that I didn't even realize needed to be met for me. Answering questions that I didn't even realize still needed to be asked, and just remembering that this is small potatoes, baby. I'm unfazed. I could lose $50,000, $70,000, $80,000 from this November event, and I would be unfazed because you know who the fuck I am. You know how I got here. I ain't come this far to only come this far. In no sense of the word. You hear me? I did not come this far to only come this far. And I'm 1,000% sure about this because this ain't even the bigger picture I got in my head. So this one ain't about to have me like, you know what? Let me step it back. Let me turn around and go back where I came from. Nah, this ain't about to do it. In no sense of the word. And it shouldn't do it for you either. That wasn't placed on your heart. You ain't started executing on that. You ain't invested all that money. You ain't invested all that time. You ain't make all those sacrifices. You ain't been in places that you ain't want to be. To stop here or to put this as your ceiling. You ain't only come this far to only come this far. Hell no. The road in here, is it you in a cul-de-sac? No, I don't think so. Keep going. Keep going. So yeah, y'all still here with me. Whew. I just had to share that. I had to share that with the family. If y'all still here with me, just what? This ain't the day, and I ain't the one. It's like I'm kidding. If you still here with me, put a heart in the chat, cause he a hater, and we just need to let some love flow to Thomas real quick. Put a heart in chat. The heart emoji should be on there. I don't care what color. I know it's a lot of them. Yeah. I am pumped. I'm so pumped. Today has been phenomenal in every way, unexpected. It has been crazy in ways that I can't explain. Y'all still here? Because I'm seeing numbers. Ooh, I'm seeing y'all. I'm seeing, you know how I'm seeing eyes. So yeah, today technically, what was we supposed to be acknowledging today? I don't know. I do not know. It has been amazing. I truly hope that this is a time where everybody realizes it is your moment. Whatever that thing is. It'll vary from person to person, from place to place, but I promise this is your moment. And here's the thing. The one thing you need more than ever, if you're going through doubt, is to exist around people that refuse to let you. Right? Because I think our doubt is the thing that gives us permission to be put in hostage situations. I think our doubt is the thing that allows for us not to take that extra step when that extra step is so clearly there for us. And it magnifies everything that truly is between you and what you're really here for. That purpose you have. One of the things I take pride in knowing about myself right now, I go through deja vus. I'm gonna tell y'all a story that my grandma told me coming up. You may believe it, you may not believe it. You may be atheist. If you atheist, I respect it. This is not to impose religion on you or anything of that nature. It's actually not a religious story. It's more of a spiritual story than anything, right? So my grandma told me this story a long time ago, and as I get older, I believe it more and more because I go through deja vus more frequently. And so my grandma told me the story that everybody has a one-on-one conversation with God before you're born. During that one-on-one conversation, you're taken into this room, right? And it may not be a real room, it might be a metaphorical room. However, in this room, God shows your spirit the life you're about to live. Plays the whole thing out like a movie reel for you, right? And right before you are born, he says, shh. And that's what causes this indentation in your lip right before you come out, right? It's like the final seal the deal, like letter seal, right? And then you come out and you find out if the circumstances of the world are holding you captive. Because if they are, you never see those deja vus. Those deja vus start to, if you're allowing yourself to line up with that real purpose you're supposed to serve here, right? You start to see the deja vus at some point. They may not be frequent. Hell, they might not even happen in close proximity. They may happen every several years. And lately, my deja vus have been with the most insignificant things, y'all. Like talking about the candy that we got from Psalm going trick or treating. The day that I impromptu, at least what I thought was, right? The day before Halloween, when I impromptu said, let's get Halloween costumes and just go out and have fun. I thought it was out of super sporadic. However, 2 days after that, me and Thomas were having a conversation. He was saying something to me about the bag of Halloween candy Psalm had gotten. And it was a deja vu for me, y'all. The environment, the room, everything. Meanwhile, according to my plan, we was already supposed to be out of here, like I told you. So it's so crazy, right? How those little things just, it's according to plan when you just give yourself, because the other option we had was to say, F this, let's just move to a bigger place and rent it until we wait to move into our house. It ain't like we can't afford it. Hell, we putting on tens of thousands of dollars worth of it. Obviously we can afford it. But it was like, no, stay still, because there's already a plan in motion and you cannot defer from it. So yeah, I recommend, if you don't, take your time to go inward. Inward is not some super crazy kumbaya type thing. For me, I got a playlist I listen to. I've shared it in our stories a couple of times, and I literally write until the 2 pages are full. And I realize I'm really allowing for myself to go inward when I can't control how it shows up on the paper. There are times where I write the same 4 sentences over and over again. I'm worthy and destined to be wealthy, thrive, and progress. Everything I do is successful. I manifest and deserve greatness in things. Beauty, peace, love, and joy fills my life. If you look at that on paper, it can be on 4 lines, it can be on 7 lines, it can be spread out, it can be super close knit. It is all about how inward and where I allow myself to stay in that moment. That is what comes out. It's crazy. It's crazy, but it's also, it allows for me to exist in a state that I can't explain, and it allows for the world around me to happen in a way that I don't control, but I empower to see fold out in the best and most beneficial way to my purpose possible. So I love you guys to life. I really do. Oh, thank you, Miss Master. Yeah, I post. Oh, I didn't post it today. I'll make sure to post it before midnight, because I've been posting a rendition of that affirmation on social media during weekdays with a picture of Psalm. Any of her hundreds of pictures that apparently I just found. So I'll be sure to post the rendition of the affirmation in the stories tonight. Y'all see it again tomorrow with a whole different picture. I love you guys to life. I'm glad that you just showed up and stayed here for this story time. If you got here late, I don't hold it against you. Just make sure you go back and check it out, because baby, this was the one. I promise this was the one that everybody needed to come to the room for. So yeah, final reminder, these are the last few hours before Buy Black Market vendor registration closes. If you are an entrepreneur and you are available any of those days, you want to be in the room. So even if you can't be there the whole weekend, even if you need some time, take advantage of one of the payment plans. If just, something is some real specific factors that you need to factor in, reach out to us. Seriously. I probably I take joy in knowing that people feel comfortable enough to reach out to us to expose whatever their truth is, because for us the mission is bigger than the money, and it always has been. And I know from people who get exposed to us through marketing and branding, it makes it hard for you to understand what we're actually about. But the more you actually get to know us, um, on a very intricate level, you realize the mission is way more important than the money. So if there's anything you feel like is a roadblock, I speak that life into you, and I hope you feel comfortable enough to speak whatever your thing is transparently to us, to figure out how we can help empower you where we can. Um, yeah, I love you guys to life. It's been a day. I need a moment. I need a moment to just go unwind after today because it's been one. I look forward to talking to everybody tomorrow. We may do a lunchtime live. We may not. It's a lot on the calendar for tomorrow and Wednesday. Um, but yeah, feel free to reach out if y'all need to about anything. And we gonna do this again at least next week, if no other time. Mm-mm-mm. Ooh, yes, Miss Mastic. Good night. You've been riding with me pretty much all. That's literally what I'm about to do, girl. That is definitely am. Good night.